If you make money online, you're sitting on a superpower that nobody else has. You can choose where your life happens. Location leverage is the simple but powerful idea that the country you live in, the city you base yourself in, the culture you surround yourself with, the cost of living you choose, all of these things can multiply your money, your lifestyle, and your happiness without you having to make an extra single dollar. Meanwhile, a normal 9-to-5 worker is completely stuck. They work 40 plus hours a week, maybe get 10 to 15 days of vacation per year if they're lucky, and a lot of those times those days are just to recover from burnout and stress from their job. But entrepreneurs with online income, we have access to something they can only dream about. We have true location independence. This video is about why location leverage is one of the most powerful money and lifestyle advantages you have as an entrepreneur. Before remote income became normal, your location was pretty much your destiny. If your office was in New York, you lived in New York and paid New York prices. If your engineering job was in Chicago, you're living in Chicago. If you worked for a company in San Francisco, you paid San Francisco rent. Your income was physically chained to your city. There was no escaping it. You couldn't work for a New York company while living in Thailand or Mexico. The technology didn't exist and the work culture definitely didn't accept it. But today, everything has changed. Your laptop is your office. Your phone is your communication hub. Cloud-based tools mean your business can run anywhere with just decent Wi-Fi. And the entire world has just become our potential workspace. This creates massive opportunity that most people just don't think about. They're so used to the old model that they don't realize that rules have completely changed. Most people earn money in the US and spend in the US. High rent, high taxes, high cost of food, high transportation. Most people's income and expenses are locked into the same economic ecosystem. But online earners, we earn money in the US or any other strong currency, and we can spend it literally anywhere in the world. That's the arbitrage, that's the opportunity. Earn in a strong currency like USD and spend it in a country where your dollars go way further. This is location leverage, and it's one of the biggest wealth building tools you have as an online entrepreneur. And here's the thing, you don't need to be making crazy amounts of money for this to even work. Even if you're making $3,000 or $4,000 a month, location leverage can change your quality of life and your savings rate. To really understand how big of an advantage this is, you need to understand what life looks like for most normal people. Let me paint you a picture of a typical 9-to-5 employee's life. They wake up early, usually around 6 or 7 a.m. They get ready, make coffee, have breakfast if they have time. Then they commute. It could be for 30 minutes, could be for an hour, or even more time. They get to the office, work for around 8 hours, maybe with a short lunch break. Then they commute back home, sit in traffic again, and maybe hit the gym on the way home if they're not too exhausted. When they want to travel, the process is ridiculous. They have to request paid time off weeks or months in advance. They have to pray their bosses approve it and that they're not needed for some critical project. They have to coordinate with their team and make sure that someone's going to be covering for their work when they're gone. Then they book a 6 to 8 day trip, and if it's a far plane ride away, they'll probably spend at least 1 or 2 of those days recovering from jet lag. And when they get home, they'll immediately have to catch up on everything that they missed when they were away from work. And maybe they get to do this once or twice a year if they're lucky. For them, travel is an escape, not an exploration. It's a break from their life, not a part of their life. For us, travel can be a lifestyle. We can base ourselves around the world wherever we want for as long as we want, and our income doesn't change. That's not a small advantage. That's a complete paradigm shift of how life can work. If you run an online business or work online, location leverage opens up possibilities that normal people would pretty much just find impossible. Some people love relaxed cultures where life moves slower. Some people love fast-paced cities with constant energy. Some love old towns with thousands of years of history. Some love tropical beaches and island vibes. And some just love modern futuristic cities. You get to choose what feels like home instead of just being stuck wherever you were born or wherever your company's office is located in. This isn't just about aesthetic preferences either. Different cultures have different approaches to work-life balance, social connection, community, and what they value in life. Being exposed to these different perspectives can really transform about how you think about success. But anyways, this is where the financial leverage really kicks in. Rent for $400 to $900 a month for nice solid places. Food for $3 to $6 a meal at local restaurants. Cheap and reliable transportation. Affordable gyms and services. This isn't about being cheap or living a worse lifestyle to save money. In many cases, you're actually living better. Better food quality, better location, better experiences, all while spending less. That's the power of location leverage. When you live in other places, you naturally can meet entrepreneurs, digital nomads, people traveling the world, and also locals with amazing stories. These aren't people I'd be normally crossing paths with in my local hometown. You can't always grow your mind if you're staying in the same environment forever. Different perspectives lead to different ideas, which lead to opportunities. There's also a huge network of online entrepreneurs in most major cities now. Co-working spaces, networking events, mastermind groups. These exist in places like Bali, Medellin, Warsaw, Thailand, and of course in dozens of other cities around the world. Europe, Southeast Asia, South America. Every region has their own version of premium life at a cheaper cost than major US cities. Beautiful architecture and walkable cities in Europe. Amazing food and tropical weather in Southeast Asia. Rich culture with amazing food, amazing dancing in South America. Modern infrastructure with international communities in places like Dubai. This is the freedom most people never get to experience, and you have access to it right now. Alright, let me break down the actual numbers because this is where location leverage actually shows its power. I'm going to be pretty specific here because vague statements don't really help anyone. US rent in a decent city, you're looking at about $1,500 to $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, and that's in cheaper cities. In places like Boston, New York, Miami, it can be much higher. In Peru, you can get a beautiful apartment in a nice neighborhood for $500 to $800 a month. Bangkok, Thailand, $500 to $1,000 for a really nice place. Lisbon, Portugal, $800 to $1,200 for a nice apartment in a nice location. Even in Eastern Europe, think of Hungary, Poland, you can get nice apartments in cities for around $1,000 a month. And the apartments I've stayed in while traveling around the world are so nice. And don't think that just because there's a third world country, the apartments you'll be staying in or the accommodation will be trash. There's very, very nice places all around the world. US car payments and insurance, $300 to $800 a month. Easily, plus gas, maintenance, and parking. Most Americans spend $500 to $1,000 a month on just car-related expenses. In international cities, you don't need a car at all. Public transportation is cheap. It's also super pleasant to use and reliable. It's not like where I'm from in the US, where your friends and family aren't taking the bus every day to work. Here in Europe, people take the bus for their super normal commute. They'll take the tram, take the metro. It's a super normal thing and super, super cheap. Or when I was in South America or Uzbekistan, Central Asia, I was getting dirt cheap Uber or like taxi rides, like $2 to $4 for a taxi ride. So that's literally $400 to $900 you're saving per month by just not needing a car. Over a year, that's $5,000 to $10,000. That's back into your pocket, and that money can go for anything. You can invest it into your business, invest it into the stock market, or just spend it to upgrade your lifestyle. Food costs. US food costs are honestly insane. If you're eating out in any major US city, you're probably spending $15, $25, maybe even $30 a meal. Even fast casual places are getting expensive. A nice dinner out, easily $30, $40, $50 per person. Abroad in Southeast Asia, you can eat amazing food from anywhere from $3 to $10 a meal. Even in nice sit-down restaurants in Eastern Europe, you can get a nice meal at a sit-down restaurant for anywhere from like $13 to $18. In South America, I was ordering like steak with fries and soup on Uber Eats, and it was like $7 a meal or something. If you eat out once a day, that can be a difference of like $300 to $600 a month. And if you eat out more, the savings are even bigger. And honestly, the food quality over here in Europe seems to be better. There's not a ton of filler ingredients in food and preservatives. When I was in Uzbekistan, I was in like a self-sustaining village. We were getting apples from their trees. We were getting milk from their cows. More authentic food preparation, less processed stuff. Haircuts, entertainment, services, these are all usually cheaper in most international cities. Let's add this all up. Living in a mid-tier US city, so you're probably spending around $1,800 a month on rent. Then car expenses, another $600. Food could be around $800. Insurance or healthcare, let's just say $400. And then on miscellaneous, that's $400 plus a month. So that brings you to a total of around $4,000 a month in those expenses. Now, how about we're living in a nice city abroad? Let's say Eastern Europe, not some poor village in South America, a nice city like Warsaw, Poland, or something in Eastern Europe. So for rent, we could pay about $800 a month in rent. Then transportation, $50 a month. Food, maybe $500, depends on if you like to buy a lot of quality meats or not. Healthcare, let's just say $100 to $200 a month. And then miscellaneous spending, another $200 a month. So that brings your total to around $1,700 a month. So with that comparison right there, it's around a $2,500 monthly difference. That's $30,000 per year. If you move abroad or even spend just a few months a year in a much cheaper country, even without changing your income at all, you can get more money back into your pocket to upgrade your lifestyle, to invest, put it back in your business, whatever. Money you would have spent just existing in a US city is now going back into your pocket, back into your business. $30,000 a year invested annually at 8% returns becomes $366,000 in 10 years. And that's just the start of the compounding power of location leverage. Let's talk about building wealth through location. Let me show you what the smart online earners do with this advantage. This is the strategic part that most people miss. They spend 3 to 6 months of the year in low-cost countries. Not forever, not even necessarily for most of the year, just during months where they're focused on building and saving. This allows them to save thousands of dollars per month that they would have just burned by living in normal US cities. And those thousands don't just sit in a checking account. They go into crypto for high risk, high reward exposure, index funds for stable long-term growth, real estate investments for passive income and diversification, or just business reinvestments for scaling. That extra $2,000 to $3,000 a month can really change your business's trajectory. That's money for better ads, better systems, better contractors. That's money for hiring a new full-time employee or a couple part-time specialists. That's testing a new marketing channel that you previously weren't able to test. A normal 9-to-5 office worker cannot do this. They don't have the flexibility to just move to another country for a few months. They can't negotiate remote work like that. They can't maintain their salary while living in Thailand or Mexico. But you can. You can buy yourself time. You can buy yourself an extra 6 to 12 months of runway by just choosing the right location to stay for a few months. But here's a benefit that has a bigger impact on your productivity and happiness than you may realize. You can choose the best weather year-round. Most people are stuck with dealing whatever weather their city has. If you live in Chicago or Boston, you're dealing with brutal winters. If you live in Phoenix or Houston, you're living with unbearable summers. If you live in Seattle, you're dealing with gray skies or rain for months. And all this affects you more than you think, but you can design your year-round optical weather. If your home city is freezing during the winter, let's say December through February, you can go to Greece, Portugal, southern Spain, southern Italy, or South America. You're in 65 to 75 degree weather while people back at home are stuck scraping ice off their windshields. If your home city is unbearably hot in the summer like July and August, go to Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, or cooler mountain areas. You're comfortable and productive while people are back home melting. I notice that when I wake up, there's a blue sky or nice weather outside, it makes me excited and happy. Now, of course, you don't need to be moving every month, but strategically planning 2 to 3 location changes per year based on weather can dramatically improve your quality of life. People working office jobs don't have this option. They're stuck dealing with whatever weather their city has, and they burn vacation days just to escape it temporarily. You are not stuck. Use that advantage. Your location shapes your identity more than you probably realize. The environment you're in, the people you're around, the culture you're exposed to. All of this fundamentally affects how you think, what you believe is possible, and who you become. When you live abroad, even temporarily, you meet people with all different types of perspectives from different backgrounds. You gain international perspectives on how things can be done differently. You improve your social confidence by navigating through uncomfortable situations. You learn about new foods and cultures, which seem superficial but can open your mind up to different approaches to life. You become more adaptable because you have to figure things out in unfamiliar environments. You pick up new phrases or even new languages. You expand your creativity by picking up different solutions to similar problems. But most importantly, you start thinking bigger. When you only know one way of living, one way of working, one culture, your thinking can become limited by those boundaries. When you experience multiple ways of living, your mind expands to encompass more possibilities. For entrepreneurs, this can be a cheat code for business success. Your worldview becomes wider, which means your opportunities multiply. You start seeing business models that work in other countries that could be adapted. You understand different consumer behaviors and preferences. Your ideas improve because you're pulling from different cultural perspectives instead of just rehashing the same concepts that everyone in your bubble is working on. Your network expands globally instead of locally, and this opens new doors that wouldn't exist if you only just knew people from your hometown. There's also a personal growth element that's hard to quantify but extremely valuable. When you successfully navigate a foreign country, find an apartment, set up life, make friends, maybe get a girlfriend, you prove to yourself that you're capable of handling uncertainty. And that confidence can carry over into your business. You can become less afraid of trying new things because you've proven to yourself that you can figure things out in uncomfortable situations. The mental frameworks you develop, the confidence you build, the perspective you gain, these can be worth more than any tactical business strategy. Let me be clear about something. You don't need to fully move abroad permanently and never come back. That's not what I'm advocating for here. Most people aren't going to do that, and that's completely fine. What I'm saying is that you can build a lifestyle where you're strategic about where you spend your time throughout the year. This isn't about becoming a nomad with no home base. It's about using your location freedom strategically. Now, here's what this might look like practically. Spend winters in warmer countries, December through February in Portugal, Mexico, or Thailand. Spend summers in Europe, June through August in Poland, Czech Republic, Germany, Spain, Italy. Spend 2 to 3 months in South America exploring and working, maybe October and November. And then have a home base in a cheap but modern city where you keep an apartment or storage. Could be in the US near your family, could be abroad, but somewhere you can always return to. But then rotate between 2 to 3 other cities throughout the year depending on cost of living, weather, and whatever else you're focused on. Maybe you find a city you love so much you just want to keep coming back to. Right now I'm in Europe, but I still travel back to the US a couple, maybe few months of the year. Right now I'm not constantly on the move. I have stability and some routine in my base location. But for the last few years, I've been traveling around the world, been to like 21 countries. And there's different approaches for all different people. Maybe you keep your home in the US, but spend 3 months a year in another country during the worst weather months. Maybe you fully move, but come back to your home country to visit family a couple times a year. Maybe you do 6 months in the US, 6 months abroad. Maybe you do 3 to 4 months in 3 different places per year. There's no single right way to do this. The key is being intentional about it. You're not running from something or avoiding responsibilities. You're optimizing for the life you want to live while building wealth more efficiently. I know some people worry about stability and routine. Won't I feel scattered? Won't my productivity suffer? But not if you build structure into your lifestyle. You can have routines and habits anywhere. You can have a consistent work schedule regardless of location. You can create stability with a mobile lifestyle. Now, let me show you something that makes location leverage even more powerful and financially viable. If you're spending money on your business anyway, and most entrepreneurs are, you can use credit card points to make travel extremely cheap or basically free. Every dollar that you spend on ads, software, contractors, hosting, all of these business expenses can be earning points that go right towards your travel. When you do this right, you can get first-class flights around the world or money off hotels. And there's a ton of other benefits that come with this, such as getting access to travel lounges, being able to skip airport security. And here's how powerful this can be. Let's say you spend $5,000 a month on business expenses. That's $60,000 annually. Through the right credit cards, you can earn anywhere from 60,000 to 150,000 credit card points per year. It depends on which cards you're spending them on and which categories the purchases are in. These points, when transferred to the right airlines or travel partners, can be worth anywhere from $900 to $2,000 in travel value. That's multiple international flights or nights at a nice hotel, and it's covered completely by the points that you're getting from the expenses that you'd be paying normally. And the key here is using transfer partners, not booking flights through your credit card's travel portal. Points can be worth way more when you transfer them to partners like United Airlines, American Airlines, etc. If you want to dive deeper into this travel hacking strategy, I have a free travel hacking playbook you can grab in the description down below. Shows you which cards you can get, how to maximize points, and how to search for flights using your points. For entrepreneurs spending a ton of money per month on their business, travel can become super cheap, especially flights and hotels. That removes one of the biggest barriers to using location leverage. You're not choosing between building a business and traveling. You can do both, funded by your business expenses. Combine lower cost of living with free travel through points, and you're looking at saving tens of thousands of dollars per year annually compared to living in a major US city. That's a year of living expenses. That's enough money to fund a new business, all without changing your income. I know you're thinking all of this sounds great, but you're probably scared or have some questions. So let me address a ton of common fears directly. Fear number 1, what if I'm lonely? This is probably a huge fear for people who haven't traveled or are pretty introverted. The idea of being alone in a foreign country sure does sound isolating. But here's the reality. The entrepreneur and digital nomad communities abroad are super big and super welcoming. You can go to group events or dinners, especially for expats or remote workers. You can work in co-working spaces designed for digital nomads. You can go to nomad meetups that happen in almost every major city. I'm personally in an online business group chat that a few years back I paid some money to be in. And so when I landed in a new city, for example, when I went to Berlin, Germany, I was on the plane or at the airport, whatever. I typed in the chat, hey guys, I'll be in Berlin tonight. Who wants to meet up, grab dinner, talk business? And people responded in the chat. And when I landed that night, I had people to meet with, people my age, people that are interested in business. And it was awesome. I didn't feel super lonely that first night because there were people around me with similar interests. Fear number 2, what if it's unsafe? And yes, that's a super valid concern. Yes, some places are safer than others. For example, Eastern Europe, super safe. Peru, I felt really safe there. Ecuador, I felt safe there. But when I was in Medellin, Colombia, I did get robbed. So I do not advise you going there if safety is a priority. Choose safer regions to start. So in Eastern Europe, we got Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, Slovenia, all super safe places. Or Southeast Asia, there's Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore. Those places have low crime rates. Or Dubai. Certain parts of Latin America are safe when you research neighborhoods beforehand. So research specific neighborhoods before you go. You can research on websites, on the American Embassy website, on expat groups. You can ask people who actually live there, not just tourists who are there for a few days. Use common sense about areas and times, same rules as any US city. I feel safer walking around at night, especially in places like Warsaw, Krakow, Bratislava, than I do in US cities. And violent crime rates in these places are significantly lower. Next fear, what if it's too complicated? Moving abroad permanently does have some complexity with taxes, living situation, visas, but you don't need to start there. Start with 1 to 2 month trips, not full moves. Most countries give you 90 days visa free as a tourist. That's 3 months to test a new place with zero paperwork besides booking flights and accommodation. You don't need to worry about long-term visas. You don't need to worry about tax implications or shipping out all your stuff. Just book an Airbnb for a month, bring your laptop and clothes, and see how you feel. If you love it and want to stay longer, then you can research longer-term options. But start simple, test it out. See if this lifestyle even appeals to you before worrying about complex logistics. Next fear, what if I don't know the language? Translation apps are honestly amazing now. With Google Translate or ChatGPT, you can take a picture of something and translate it. I know the Meta AI glasses and the new AirPods have live translation. In most major cities, you're going to find international English-speaking people. And in city centers, there's going to be English menus. And most younger generations around the world know at least some English or fluent English since they're online playing video games in English or they're learning it in school. You'll be fine with basic phrases and translation apps. Look, traveling and living abroad is scary before you try it, but it's never scary after. Once you take that first trip, you realize how manageable everything is. The anticipation and the anxiety can be worse than the reality. If you found this useful or learned anything at all, make sure to subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I created a really valuable video explaining how I built a 6-figure investment portfolio by 22. Make sure to click the video on the screen to watch.